Hello, this is Ron again. This is episode 8, I believe, on the restoration of the 71 F5 Kawasaki Bighorn. If you watched my last episode, you can see I made some more progress. I got the motor in, I got the clutch cable and the clutch cover on. I got the cover on this side, the clutch cover on this side, and I got the sprocket cover on the left side in. And before I put the clutch cover on, I made sure I put a old clutch lever and made sure the clutch was releasing properly, got it all adjusted. Getting ready to put the piston in. You always want to use anti-seize on your studs for the cylinder. I know on Kawasaki's, some of the other bikes, the bolts are actually hauled out and the stud goes inside of them, and there's not much clearance on the outside and they can get corroded and they don't want to come out. So if you put anti-seize in there, then you eliminate that problem. I was fortunate that before I bought this bike, I had recently had the cylinder board, the first over, which is 0.5 millimeter, the new piston, and so I did not need to bore it out again or change the piston because I had really good compression before I took it apart, and it ran fine. So I checked the clearances and they're still in specs, so we're putting the old piston back in. What I like to do is I like to warm up the piston a little bit, just get it to like 100 degrees so I can still handle it with a glove. Put a circlip on one side and put the pin in the freezer, so when I go to put it in, they'll just slide right in. If not, I have a socket that's just a hair smaller that I can push it if it's stubborn. And if I have to, I have a piston pin puller and installer, but I shouldn't have to do that on this. It's really coming along. Still waiting for my hardware. It's really frustrating me. So luckily I had the second bike to take the hardware from, and then I'll just have to change all that stuff out when I get it. Also, I'll grab the camera. I'm going to make a complete video on just the bodywork and paint. So as you can see, I got the tank and the fuel tank and the oil tank stripped to bare metal, and I'll go into detail from start to finish on how you do bodywork and paints. I did that for 49 years, so you can see I've got the clutch cover on. I blocked the hole. You want to protect. You don't want to drop a circlip in there and have to split the cases to get a circlip out. So I tried using a rag, but it's too thick, so I just put some paper towels in, and I've got the circlip on the left side of the piston, and on the piston you'll see, make sure you can see it, there's an arrow. The arrow will go towards the exhaust. And on triples, it's a little tricky because you got 3 to put in. You always put in the center first, and you want to make sure because you always put one circlip in so you can push the pin in and put the other one in. You want to make sure, because it's the one in the middle, and you don't want to do it in the wrong sequence, but on a single, that's not a problem. So I think we're pretty much ready. I'm going to heat the piston up with a heat gun just for a few seconds. Get the pin out of the freezer and install the piston, and then I'll carefully line up. These are the original type with 3 rings, as you can see. The later pistons and the high performance replacement pistons had just 2 rings because they made more power and you didn't really need the 3rd ring. And you always want to use new circlips, the pin bearing and new pins, which I've got them direct from, they were new old stock Kawasaki. You don't ever want to use um, the old circlips, because you could have one come out and it's gonna, score your piston, and it's not good. So let's get started. Yeah. See how easy that went in? Super easy. And when you put the circlip in, you can see there's little slots. You want to make sure the open end is not in one of those slots, because it'll be much easier for it to come out. So you want to have it, on this piston toward the bottom or toward the top. And once you get it in, use a little screwdriver and move it a little bit to make sure it's in the groove. Yeah, what I do is I put one in and then I kind of roll it around my finger. I get it to start, and I'll push it with a screwdriver. And then I check it really, really close. I'm going to roll it. Yep, it moves. I check it really close to make sure it's in the well. It's not half out. So you start it and it comes out. Always double, triple, and triple check your piston circlips. And make sure I got my arrow toward the front. And now what I'll do is make sure all the rings are centered over each ring has a pin, and the top and the bottom are lined up, and the second ring is over here. I just noticed my camera had turned itself off. I've got the cylinder on, so I've got my anti-seize on a couple of bolts, so I'm going to put the head on. Line up the gasket. There we go. I just knocked off my plug cap. I'll find it later. Gasket. I wonder if they're different. They gave me two gaskets out that seem to line up for the small 4 bolts. No, that's too small. Yep, there's 2 different sizes. Okay. Oh, I wonder if that other one is for the 250. There we go. That works. Yeah, this anti-seize will really save you when it comes to take it apart in the future. I did a 69 H1 once that had never been apart, and the early ones had, I think they were called bridge cylinders, and I spent 3 weeks trying to get the cylinders off, and went on the triple forums, asked everybody, tried everything you can think of, and what you do is you'd use a tap, and once you get the cylinder head bolts out, you would tap where they go and use a bolt to kind of press to lift it off. Tried pullers, tried heat, tried acid, and I couldn't get them off without ruining them. And I had, so many people try them and try this, try this. I tried everything. And if from the factory they had anti-seize, it probably wouldn't have been a problem. So now I just got to tighten them up and then see what the torque is. So far I've looked through the whole service manual, cannot find the torque specs for the cylinder head. It says look for V13. There is no V13 in the book, and these are the same size bolts as on the triple, and those are 18 pounds, 18 foot-pounds. So I'm going to set them at that for now and do some more checking online and see if I can make sure. But for the size they are, I think 18 is probably right. You got to do these in an X pattern. I'm going to just do the 8 millimeter ones, the 8 foot-pounds for now, until I confirm exactly what they're supposed to be. Okay, got my old oil tank on here. The reason why I'm not using this one, it's probably hard to see it, but there's a crease that goes down just like this, and it's pretty rugged, and I'm not going to be able to push it out. And I'm doing a complete video on just on the body and paint separately. So this is the one for my 75, and there's the same tank, and this one is perfect. There's no denso. So this is going to go on this bike. On my decal set from Free Production Decal should be here shortly. So like I said, I'm just going to put a little 2-stroke oil in here, loosen up the feed line, and as soon as it drips, I will close that off, and I know I got the air out of the first section. And then I got to get my exhaust on and the carburetor. I'm probably going to have to use, I have a dual stock 75 throttle cable assembly, and they're different because on the 74, 75, the choke lever, which really is fuel enrichment, is on the left control, and on the 71 to 70 to 72, I believe, it's on the same with the throttle. So I've got to get my upper case for the right side TIG welded. So I need to get this bike done and get it off the lift, because I want to put another bike up here as soon as I can. I can see it in the sight glass. probably going to take a while because it's got a low spot here. I've got to fix this Kickstarter. For some reason it goes in too far and it's scratching my clutch cover, and I have another one and it doesn't fold in as far what I need. So I'm going to take them both apart and build one good one out of both of them. So it's dripping out through, so the air's gone out of the feed line. And if you notice, I used paper towel. Let me look and see if you can see. Yeah, I've got paper towel under my motor because I put the transmission fluid in yesterday and wanted to see it would leak. And I had a leak, and what it was, I forgot to put in I forget what they call the valve. It's in the crankcase that if there's excess oil, it will puke it out, and I had forgot to screw that in, and that's where the one drop came from. So that was good that I did that, because I caught that. Because if I started it without that in there, that's where all the pressure is, and they just puke. Well, I've got it running. Success. Yeah, I just finished getting the exhaust on and got my temporary little bottle tank on there. So that's a big hurdle, and no leaks, so that's good. Yeah, I'm using, as I said earlier, using my throttle assembly from my 75. I've got a new old stock one, so I don't have a choke hooked up to the carburetor because it uses the fuel enrichment. It's just a little valve that dumps raw fuel in there, and that will be in the left control if I decide to stay with the 75 controls. When I bought my 75, the left side's missing, so if I want to keep these, and what I like about them, they don't look correct, but it's got a different design, and what I really like is it's got a kill switch, and I believe, I'll have to look in the wiring of the harness, I think that was optional. So I'm going to think about it. You know, if I can fix, I'll show you. I think I posted on Facebook, and everybody said, well, good luck finding one. The upper housing of the right control is cracked. The last one I saw on eBay sold for $150 just for this top piece, and this sits on the top with the cables go like that. You know, it's similar to this, but this setup, you know, it just sits in there. There's nothing gonna break. Where this one, because you've got the slot all the way down so you can get the cable in, is very weak. So I'm gonna try to get it TIG welded and use the original controls. If not, I'm just gonna buy the later 74, 75. They're black, and the left control looks really nice because it has yellow numbers on the switches. So, in my tack, I'm gonna have to take it apart. It was on 0, and as soon as it started turning, it went. There's a little spring, and if you take them apart, you can use a really light, kind of like a 3-in-1 oil, 3-in-1 oil. And I've done that on some of the triple ones that I tried to fix myself, and it was actually successful. You clean it and then put that oil on it, and it'll turn and it'll stay stable, where it just, as soon as it starts, it just goes as far as it'll go, and it just stops. So if I took it apart and turned the thing the other way, it would go back down to 0. So it's frustrating, and I'm looking for a new oil stock. I have a feeling the speedometer is going to do the same thing. So we'll see. But that's good for now. Thanks for watching.